Well, there's Charlotte too.
Yeah.
Mhm. We got a note that the guys from the district are a couple minutes late, so we're gonna give them a couple minutes to show up here. And that'll give us a quorum and we can fire it away. Yeah, we've got a quorum, haven't we?
We do, Chairman.
I think what we'll do, folks, is we'll start, we can cover the first two items, action items that are essentially perfunctory this week or this month. And by then, maybe the guys from the district will be here so we can cover the various amendments. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order and propose the first item for action on our agenda, the October 14th monthly meeting minutes. Questions or comments about them? Hearing or seeing none, then we'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Again, any further comments? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They carry. And then the monthly billings summary, Kim
Yeah.
Jones.
So we have payment to Anshin totaling $19,015.25. Payment to Bond, Shulnick and King, $9,790.50. Buffalo Construction Consultants, $12,964.48. Chantrul Jensen Stark Architects, $500,275.16. LaChase, $95,182.04. Savin Engineers, 200, excuse me, 222,000.
It's not a good sign, Pepin, when the treasurer chokes on your bill.
I'm battling a cold. I went on vacation for a few weeks and caught a cold.
It's actually half of what was budgeted.
All right. Whatever.
Savin Engineers, $222,081.32. Pike, $27,846. And lastly, Watts Architecture and Engineering, $17,766.80. Total payments of $904,921.55.
Questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, then I'll entertain, there's been a motion, I'll entertain a second for the approval of the expenditures.
Second.
Been seconded. Further questions or comments? Hearing or seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. That gets us to the first of the amendments. There's a fair amount of information that you get in the packet about these amendments, and including a summary that I asked Pepin to put together for each of them. Hi, guys. We just dealt with a few perfunctory items here while we're waiting for you to come in. And so we're going to start to work our way down the amendments with item number 3.
Okay.
And I know several of you have to get out of here promptly, so try to pay attention to that. Oh, okay, as I was saying, there is quite a bit of information, but it's important that we get a pattern here of paying attention to this. And so I've asked Pepin to be prepared to give a short summary for each of these as we go through them.
Okay.
And let's start with number 3, Pepin.
So, thank you, Chairman. Last month, the board authorized an amendment to modify Buffalo Construction Consultants Agreement to provide construction administration services for the structural reinforcement of the post-tension systems in the site. During last month's negotiation with Buffalo Construction, we were able to agree on the construction aspect of the proposal, but the pre-construction was still too high in our opinion, and we needed additional details to support that pre-construction aspect of the proposal. So we received those details. Terry and the team spent some time with Brian reviewing those details, and now we're including the pre-construction services in the amendment. Effectively, this service prevents the board from having to procure additional specialty consultation services elsewhere, as was initially anticipated. We worked with BSK and Terry on the viability of using a contractor, but we abandoned that, and we figured the value of this amendment is fair and reasonable with a lump sum fee of $41,460. We can certainly pull out a memo. That's a summary of what the amendment is about.
You remember that we've been working on this for some time. This is the structural problem at Edison, which is required us to do a special investigation, new design. This is the product of actually implementing that. And we also had moved some money from the East High project to the Edison project to fund this work and all the related things to it. So other questions or comments about it? Okay, if not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve this amendment as in item 3.
I'll move it.
It's been moved. We need a second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Good to see we get started on this. We've got to get a few things done with SED, but we need to get going on this because it's a major part of the structure of the building, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Okay, number 4.
Number 4, this amendment is for the assessment and investigation of the roof drain lateral piping down to the underslab of section A of the Padilla High School at Franklin campus as part of the overall facilities department request. By facilities department, I mean the school district's facilities department to replace deteriorated piping in the existing building. This effort will also provide video inspections and scoping of the underslab sewer piping throughout the building. And the value of this amendment is a not to exceed fee of $69,500. And building is it's a huge building. It requires a lot of investigation using AP plumbing, I believe, Terry?
Yeah.
Yes.
They had to, this replies to both sanitary plumbing underneath the building and then the plumbing for the drains, is that it? Roof drains and that kind of stuff that go through the piping
Correct.
into the sewer?
So they'll be scoping all of the underslab and then the horizontal laterals from the roof drains.
I have them in my house, familiar with them. Okay, questions or comments? Okay, not hearing or seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment with item 4.
Big motion.
Been moved and seconded. Again, further questions? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 5.
So number 5, now that Padilla High School at Franklin will remain occupied during construction, this amendment is to assist the architect and the PM team in determining the classroom utilization using the classroom master schedule provided by the school district. In summary, this is to determine how much of the classroom body can be consolidated by room schedule. The work involves deeper investigation of the existing systems of the building, developing options and ideas with the district for separation of students from construction. And this is a requirement of the commissioners, SED Commissioners Rule 155 for an occupied building. This also will provide alternate specialized spaces to maintain operation of the building for instruction during construction. So if approved, Pike will work with us and the architect to develop plans for the phasing, showing separation of students, temporary systems that are needed to facilitate this phasing, and develop different construction logistics plans that are required to facilitate any phasing that's adopted. They'll also provide, I believe, an estimated cost for that also as part of this proposal.
Correct. Estimate and schedule and consulting on the layout of the phasing and partitions that are required.
Yeah, the value of this part, I think it's a 2-step proposal, but we're only accepting step 1.
Correct. And there's actually steps for the architect eventually also. So probably should just take a second and explain that. So this is the first step for the CM, which is the planning of it. Once it's finalized, that schedule and plan gets developed into the design. It will determine what our change in duration for construction will wind up being, because it will be longer. Then they'll price the construction phase for the phasing, the construction part of the phasing effect. That'll be the second part for the CM. The architect, I had them set up for 3 parts. The first part, they worked with us on the meetings pro bono. So their second and third step for them, the second step is actually producing designs to facilitate it. So facilitate the phasing. We may need to change how the mechanical and electrical systems are run so that we can maintain operation in one part of the building with students in it while we're tearing out and replacing systems on the other side of the building, as an example. And then vice versa, when we go to switch and move our way around the building with renovations. And they need to design the systems. Some of them may be temporary systems so that we can facilitate that operation while we're under construction in a different part of the building. So that's the second step for the architect and their engineers, is that design work, that reviewing of the exiting to make sure that we're maintaining legal exits and pathways for the students, and the construction when we're setting this, planning out partitions and divisions for separations for the construction and the students. And then the final for the architects is the construction administration. Again, it'll be a longer duration, so they'll be out there longer. There will be a cost for the architects and their engineers during the construction phase. And that will be a separate cost. Those we'll be getting later. Just so know what to expect later on for additional amendments as we progress this.
Terry, have we captured these 4 or 5 amendments in the updated Gantt chart?
Well, we won't have prices on the future amendments till we get through this stage. So we need this one to develop the ideas of the phasing that wind up being presented to the district and accepted. Then we can get the future. Like that's why I set it up in steps. We need earlier ones completed before they could even price the lower steps.
But we do have a budget for this project. And to the extent this will impact that budget. Now, hopefully it'll be within what we thought would be, but that's part of what's going on right now is making sure that the budget can accommodate all this.
There are more details about what Terry just explained as an Exhibit B in your packet. So if you want to look at it, share in more details.
Okay, questions or comments about this item, number 5? Seeing or hearing none, all those, we need to have a motion to approve it.
Motion.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. It gets us to item number 6.
Item number 6 is an amendment number 1 to SWBR Architects at Wilson. SWBR had previously provided a test fit documentation for relocating Wilson to the Jefferson campus during construction. Since then, the district has a new swing space plan. This additional test fit is in response to this interest in moving Wilson to a different swing space location at the Marshall campus. Exhibit B, again, in your packet, provides additional details for this amendment, and the work is a not to exceed fee of $5,600. So we were able to negotiate this a whole lot, but they wanted to get paid for this additional work to do a new test fit for this campus.
Is that work done? Essentially, because they're in the middle of it for some
In
time.
the middle of it, yes, because we did the first one, but we changed direction, so we gotta give them instructions to do a new test fit, but they're working on it partially.
Transitional safe work,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
Okay, questions or comments about this item? Hearing or seeing none, then we'll entertain a motion to approve it.
Motion.
Been moved and seconded. Further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Last of these, number 7.
This one, I'm gonna ask Ed Urihan, council, to help me, but this, the current Phase 3 insurance requirement roadmap was approved by the board back in last April. It contains a waiver of subrogation for both professional service providers and construction contractors. One of the CMs, I believe it was LaChase, brought to our attention that insurance companies will not provide a waiver of subrogation for professional service providers. And Rick's been working with them on a way to get it, but it seems like no insurance companies want to provide it. And Ed can explain what a waiver of subrogation is better than I can as an attorney. But I believe it's an insurance principle where an insurer can, after paying a claim to the policyholder, can go to a third party and kind of reclaim that money.
Yeah, and so the waiver doesn't allow that. So I guess the best way to explain this is to give an example. So if a general contractor damages a building that it's working on, and the owner, in this case, the RSMP, pays, their insurance carrier pays for the damage that was caused. the insurance carrier cannot then go after the contractor to recover the monies that it paid out to cover that claim. The question is, why do you have that? Waiver of subrogation language is typically to ensure that there's not protracted litigation. So for example, in the example I just gave, if the insurance company goes after the contractor tries to bring in the owner or another party, it can get very complicated. So to prevent that type of litigation and to preserve the business relationships between the parties, that's why you have waiver of subrogation language in a lot of contracts.
So both,
But the problem here then is that we can't buy that. In other words, we would like it, but we can't buy it. So we're going to have to deal without it. That doesn't mean that there isn't a recourse here. You know, if you don't have a waiver, you can sue somebody. So
Yeah.
there is recourse, but it won't be through a waiver of the subrogation rights.
Rick was able to get this confirmation from not only BSK as general counsel, but also the insurance consultant for the RJSCB. So a lot of information was included in your packet if you're interested in seeing the supporting correspondence on this topic.
So what we're asking the board to do is to approve our standard insurance provision by removing this requirement.
Yes, sir.
Okay, questions or comments about that? Hearing or seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve it as item 7 on our agenda.
I'll move it.
It's been moved. Second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, that gets rid of the items that we needed to tend to in terms of action. Let's go to the ICO report. Ryan?
Good afternoon. So as of October 23rd of this year, we had received 96% of all the records that were required for the September 25 reporting period, which brings us to about 99.20% of all the docs that have been are required to be filed for the 2 years that we are into phase 3 here have been received. So when we look at our hours, we have a total of 42,616 hours that have been worked on the project through the month of August. And then we have September work hours, total minority hours worked of 1,203 hours. Non-minority male at 511. That was female. Non-minority male of 2,549 for a total of 4,264 hours were worked during the month of September, bringing our total work on the project to 48,249 hours that have been worked so far. When we compare a comparison overall of our goals on the hours worked traditionally, minority, both male and female, we have a goal of 23% and we're at 38.30%. Women, non-minority only, we have a goal of 7% and we're at 13.24%. When we look at a comparison overall of our goals of the hours worked with female participation analysis broken out separately, minority, male only, a goal of 23%, and we are at 26.60. Women, non-minority and minority, a goal of 7%, and we are at 23.57% for our workforce. Our business participation and utilization, we've awarded so far $77,314,131 of contracts. The breakdown on those contracts, MBE firms, $24,310,000 or 31.44% of the total contract value against a goal of 18. Our WBE, $6,051,000, which is 7.83% of the total value against a goal of 12%. Our SBE, we have $1,524,000, which is 1.97% against a goal of 2%. If you notice, this is the first time that our SBE has dipped below the goal, and it's only because we have a $3,928,000 contract to Buffalo Construction, and they're just filling in the rest of some of their partners on that, so they do not have an SBE component yet. So we should by next month be back over our goal of the 2%, and the W will also be increasing with that. Our DBE, we have $2,694,000, which gives us 3.48% against a goal of 2% there. Although the project does not have a city of Rochester residency requirement, we do track it. Currently, there were 17 residents of the city of Rochester that were actively employed on the project, which is 14.78% of the total of 115 individuals that worked on the project. And we continue to maintain 4 BOP firms working on the project. One of them has 3 contracts.
Can you talk about what those contracts are? I know that I actually saw Lalu this weekend and she wasn't engaged yet. So can you talk about which contracts those are?
Sure. So Miles, can you bring up, so they would be under contract with one of the primes, but they may not have been engaged yet to perform services, but they've been engaged. You bring up the 4 contracts that we.
Yes.
And then also for the DBE with the enormous changes from the federal side of the DBE program, has that had any effect on the state?
Well, so the federal side is now SETI, socially economic disadvantaged individuals, which is 8 separate categories. We are not using that. We're using the state's definition for it. They, on the SETI side, you also get to bring in historically underutilized businesses, both geographically and individuals. Rural businesses come in, and Article 8A under the SBA requirements come in if they have those. I only know the details well because I'm doing it for Micron, and there's the discussion on federal versus state on it, but where we are. But here we're using, which we've always used, is the state one.
So
But
there's
if
been
we
no
were to
change.
look at the federal side and include SETI, that potentially would increase it because you go, there's a total of 8 different categories that could be used.
There's
so we-
been no changes to the state's program.
Correct.
Miles, can you also let us know who CNC is also contracted under? That's one of the companies listed under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it for you.
Okay, that it, Brian?
Yes.
Question for Brian. Other questions for Brian?
Kimberly, we'll also start to track when they get paid on the BOP side so we can see the actual dollar amounts. Right now, we're just tracking that they're contracted.
Okay. Kim, I think you're up with the fund balance report.
Thank you,
Kim
Chairman
Mitchell.
Richards. Yes, this again is the budget tracking for the fiscal year for the RJSCB. It's showing the actual billed amounts versus the budgeted amounts that were set in place in July. And as we are currently standing, all of the vendors are under budget. Still early in the year, but we expect that trend to continue. I don't see any reason why there would be any huge upswing there. For the fund balance report, I actually had a call with the district today to verify the numbers and make sure that we are tracking just phase 3 funds. There's the physical account, bank account that has one number, but the ledger account is what we're tracking the actual dollars with. So that reconciliation continues, but we are working on segregating that and having a really solid number here for the beginning fund balance and the amount expended to date. But we have started with $14,570,468.54. When you subtract this month's pay requisition, it leaves a balance of $13,665,546.99. Currently, the RJSCB health funds are unchanged, as well as the expenses for the audit and insurance, but those policies aren't an insurance audit. Excuse me, the audit is coming up, so those numbers will be changing. The RSMP admin expenses is $7,772,475, 18% of the budget. And the RSMP construction costs, which again are soft costs only, of $9,299,146, which is 2% of the budget of $439,342,158. That's it.
The last page in this packet of information before the program manager report is the overall budget for the entire project. Ron, when we were talking before about budget and the impact of this work that's being done at Edison, you'll see there's a budget for Edison on that last page, the one that covers the entire project. And we've got to fit this work in there or do something different. But there is a cap and a way to keep track of it entirely. We have an estimate, don't we, Terry, in there for what we think it's going to cost us to do this work?
What we do at Edison, Padilla was a change, so.
No, I meant Edison, actually, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do have a budget, but there is a problem in terms of overage. Since the last estimate, things kind of skyrocketed.
well, the estimates are.
The estimates are, so we still have to sit down with the estimators, architects, CMs to figure out where the burst is and also identify alternates. And there was some scope added.
Right, that's the point. I mean, the point is that this document we're looking at right here is forcing that conversation.
Yes.
Okay. The program manager's report happened.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, see, as far as the overall program budget versus cost summary, Chairman Richard highlighted the fact that each project has a fixed budget that we cannot exceed, and we're working within the parameter of the 475 million authorization unless something else happens in the next few weeks with the extension. There are no hard construction costs expended to date because there's no contractor on board. As of last month, 13.5% of the total incidental budget was spent for 17,089,905 paid to date. With the current progress of the overall program, the overall phase 3 is 3.6% complete. So that's the budget summary, and we can answer a few questions later. As far as an overall financial update, the extension still awaits the governor's final approval. As I discussed with Chairman Richards earlier, that there was a letter from the bill sponsors, Senator Cooney and Assemblyman Brunson, sent to the governor asking for her support. So hopefully we'll hear something positive. If not this week, maybe next week, or definitely before December 31st, so we don't start over. The financial plan will be revised based on the $125 million additional funding. As soon as that's signed by the governor, then we'll revise the plan, which still requires SCD approval, controller approvals, the Board of Ed approval, and the RJSCB approval. The controller is still on standby. He's been sending requests to Kim Mitchell, copy me on where things stand, and we said, well, we're doing what we can, and we're waiting for the extension to be approved before we even think about amending or updating the financial plan to be submitted to his office. There's a COMIDA application being prepared to refund the outstanding callable maturities of the Phase 1 2013 and 2015 serial bonds. We I'm gonna use the phase one application as a baseline, working with Kim and some of the PM members to get the application ready to go, ready for submission as soon as we get the approval from the governor on that particular piece of legislation, also that was approved in a bipartisan setting. The schedules for long-term debt issuance, we can't even think about them now until SCD approvals are granted for the projects to be submitted and to be eligible to be part of the first borrowing that will be structured, working with the financial advisor and the bond underwriter. As far as SCD submission updates, we did have a meeting with SCD on September 11th, as mentioned last month. The SCD's position on the preliminary submission remains the same. That's unchanged. They are waiting for the new demographic enrollment data update that was requested or required, I should say. As of today, we had a series of meetings with the consultant. We're supposed to get raw numbers late tonight into tomorrow morning. Am I saying that correctly?
You are correct.
And then we're gonna meet with the district, Dr. Arden, and the consultants again, Chief Scott, to review those numbers. We hope to have the final report by Thanksgiving, so we can be ready to make our submission to the State Education Department the first week of December. If the stars align, we'll have all our information ready to go. What will be missing, which I know Rolly's been asking a lot about, and Chief Scott's been trying to help us get the RCSD revisions to the ISRs. Those are the instructional split, Wilson, Edison, and Douglas. So those revised forms may increase the special education but may affect the total aid. So we'll see how that works out. The new FPFMP attestation form that was modified, or some suggestions were made by the chairman as far as changing the language. SCD's position remains the same. They would not change that form. They checked with their legal department and said the form stands as prepared, but 2 other signature lines were added as optional signatures. And those forms need to have certifying signatures by Dr. Rosser as superintendent, Mr. McDowd as the CFO, or Chief Scott, and Mr. Jaime Alicea. So I think all the forms are ready to go, Terry. We just have to share them.
All of them except for the FMP form.
For the FMP. So once that's ready to go, then we'll be ready to submit to SCD. As far as a design update, Rolly can help me, but we received the decision to put the program on a soft pause until we know what we're doing with the demographic update, with the ISRs assigned by the regional associate. So once we have the governor's approval, signature of the extension into law, then we'll have a little bit more work to do. But Martin Luther King #9, construction documents are shelved. The RCSD changed the swing specification, so we'll work on that for now at least. Wilson commencement, also on a soft hold, similar to MLK. The schedule and budget updates are work in progress, and Terry's been updating the schedule as we see shifting in the bidding environment. The architects of record design documents and meetings slowed down significantly this week, and the swing space issues are similar to MLK School #9. We did confirm the swing space location with Chief Scott in the district, so we're good with that. Edison campus program verification completed. We have presented that report to the board, but that program also is on a soft hold until we get started again. As mentioned, the preliminary submission package is ready. As soon as the regional associate gives us those ISRs signed, The final layout of the proposed new regulation sports fields venues were reviewed with Chief Scott and department heads and several other people. Rolly, if you want to elaborate on this, feel free to do so.
Well, I certainly, we took the time to step back and look at what we believe will be an optimization of the investment that the district is making in these fields to create, as we've been told, the goal is a flagship facility. And essentially, we are very seriously looking at and expecting the district to authorize a flipping of the bleachers to the north side of the field instead of the south side of the field along McCrackenville. That will facilitate major shared functions such as team rooms and storage and concessions being much more central to the campus as opposed to along the southern edge. So we think it's a win-win. A major change in scope other than the fact some of the sewer lines will be longer. The other thing the district is exploring is there is an appendage parcel of land to the far west of the site that the city, shall we say, just underutilizes at the moment, which the chief is looking into whether or not that could be made available for the hammer and discus venue, which would keep those track events much more compact and closer to the track itself. So we think it was a very good, very, very productive series of meetings, and suffice it to say, the enthusiasm is bubbling to the top.
Regarding East, we are at program verification stage. So that design is continuing up to schematic for preliminary submission. And Justin, you're here. As far as we're still identifying alternates, any update?
Yeah, so we've limited the roof scope, prioritized the mechanical scope in the crawl space and stairs to future leaks and failures. And then we limited the scope to just be within budget for the current project. And then we've budgeted off 2 alternates that will be selected from in the future. While we wait also for the results of some investigations regarding potential asbestos containing materials and things like that, the insulation, some of the replacement portions. But currently, as far as the program verification phase goes, we're within striking distance of the budget.
And you know, this work is going to accommodate the removal of the pipe, the water pipes and those things from a situation in which they're likely to come in contact if something happens with the electrical equipment.
Yeah, that's the objective, is to see where any risk is, especially as it relates to the busway, where there's electrical and water containing and steam containing lines, rerouting some of that steam piping and condensate piping away from problem areas. And then also water mitigation as far as removal where things pool up in the crawl space, standing water and things like that.
We also included a budget for replacing steam traps, doing a survey of the building, replacing failed steam traps, because they are basically the cause for the backup of the steam through the receivers into the crawl space. And part of replacing those condensate receivers that Justin was talking about was the potential for relocating a few of them away from the busway, along with some piping to vent it to the outdoors, so that if we do sometime in the future, the district does see failed steam traps, that it won't back up and release the steam into the crawl space. So it'll be vented to the outside.
Yeah, we had the way this was originally designed created a potential problem of water impacting the electrical service because they were in the same raceway. And the result of that, of course, is unsafe, number one, for the people who might possibly be down there. And of course, it could cause other problems as well, that would spread to the building. So the way we're trying to deal with this is, in the past, the way they've dealt with this is to try to, patch it in a way that the water couldn't get to the electric. What we're trying to do with this design is eliminate that possibility. In other words, take those two piping systems away from each other so that they don't interfere with each other and cause a safety problem. And, once we start, we have to do work there anyway, because one of the things we're still doing is finishing up some of the infrastructure work at East. So there's no sense doing it wrong again. We'll get it right this time.
And as far as Douglas, the preliminary submission assembly is pretty much done, as Terry mentioned, similar to the other two projects. Anything you want to highlight, Rob, for Douglas? User group meetings are ongoing?
No, I think the process is pretty much going along as it needs to. There have been some user inputs that are being integrated into the 75% set. Rather recent developments. All moving in the right direction, I think. We still are over budget at this juncture.
That's Douglas.
Oh,
Douglas.
Yeah, 75%.
Sorry, he was talking about Wilson.
yeah. My bad. So having said that, Douglas, its next program input session is coming up in a couple of days. That's the second of 3. And having said that, once we acquire the information we need to address the design and the program verification, we should be able to deliver that set of documents in early January.
In January, we'll be ready to do a program verification.
Correct.
This concludes the PM report, Chairman.
Okay. I think from the board's point of view, what we have to sort of visualize here is where we are in terms of moving this project forward, as opposed to the specific details, a lot of which you've heard here today. And, we now have issued a letter restricting some of the activity. So we've slowed down. We're slowed down because the statute requires us to get certain approvals before we go forward, and we can't get them if some of this work isn't done. And SED and several of their written communications with us have reminded us of that. So we're abiding by it. So if you look over the next 2 or 3 months, what has to happen here? There are like 3 or 4 things that have to happen. You can ignore a little bit, they're interrelated, and you can ignore a little bit the specific schedule, because in the end, all of them have to get straightened out, even though we can work around them for a while in some cases. The first, which is positive, is the fact that there's a pending legislation for a $125 million addition. But obviously that'll change the financial plan. That'll change some of the design work that we're doing. That has to get all done and approved, but it's positive. And it's not as though it'll come to us as a complete new item. We've been thinking about that with the extra things we would want to do as we went through these projects. In many cases, have an addendum in there that people can oppose to. So it's good. That part of it is good, but it takes time, and we're not really going to be approved until that is either signed and the work is integrated into the project. The demographic study. The demographic study is really not part of the project per se, but it is part of the planning that the district needs to do, and SED is insisting that the district do. And so we'll have a brand new demographic study here that'll come out in the next month. And the impact, what impact is that has on the project is remains to be seen. We don't expect it to have a lot of impact specifically on the project because, that was thought about when the strategic plan was put together. And these buildings were picked because they would survive no matter what the plan was. But it could well have an impact on things that the district is doing otherwise. And unfortunately, that seems to always leak into this project in terms of getting approval and moving forward. But we gotta get they've insisted that the demographic study be done. We're gonna do it, and the district is gonna do it. And we'll see what it leaves. We gotta get it behind us in some fashion to get going. Special education documentation, the ISRs, that has to get signed off by somebody at the district. That's largely a district issue. They need to get that taken care of so that it doesn't stop the work. If these other things got straightened out or portions of them and this still wasn't done, that would be on the top of the list. It would move up to the list. And then in the end, when we get to the point of whatever we're gonna submit here, either with or without the additional money, we'll have to, that certification will have to be signed by everyone. And that a little bit is up in the air right now because we're not exactly sure what we're gonna submit, but we would like, obviously, to be able to submit as much as possible. Remember, the SED has required us to submit all 6 projects together. So we gotta have them all ready to go, all together, because they wanna look at the total impact. And that's a little bit where this demographic study comes in. So those are the items that I think we have to keep our eye on as a board. Pepin has a lot of other stuff to keep his eye on, and other people do as well. And you're obviously welcome to be involved in any of that you'd like to be. But those are the items that we got to wrestle with here. I'm hopeful that we will be able to do that in the next month or so. Otherwise, this thing is going to screech to a halt. Because we'll run out of things we can do against the course. I don't want to do a lot of stuff here that we're not going to be able to use. So that's where we are. Now, the good news is somebody's working on all of that. I mean, there isn't anything here that people aren't working on, that there isn't an effort going on to move it forward, that we're trying to be as responsive as we can be to keep things going and work around whatever obstacles are present. But we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to get it done.
I mean, I could verify too, Chairman, especially from on the district's end, the demographic enrollment study is certainly underway. We're just kind of we're waiting now just to get that information back, just so we can be ready to submit that. And then the ISR forms, we have got some traction on getting that stuff finalized as well, so we can have that submitted for the regional associate, so.
Yeah, the demographic study, to be fair to everybody, is that's one example of something. There's a lot of work going on. You know, that's not being allowed to drift. There's a lot of work going on by the district and by us to support it, and by the consultant we've hired to actually prepare the report and file it. So there's a lot of work going on. To me, the problem is it asks an impossible question. You know, project your enrollment in individual schools for the next 15 years. Actually, I could probably do that as well as the guy we've hired, but we'll see. Okay, other comments or questions? I know the people from the district have an appointment they can't miss.
They want to miss.
You know, Chairman said, you know, has to go. Just kidding.
Okay. Hearing or seeing nothing, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks.
Take care.
We are first.